of start with some introductions and kind of give everybody kind of a layout of what to expect for this evening's discussion. My name is Jennifer Morgan. I'm the Hunter Education Coordinator for the New Mexico Game and Fish. I've been with the agency of, I want to say, just 20 years now. Crazy to think that I've been here that long. But it's been a real pleasure to be able to offer these types of ladies social hours since last summer to get everybody together, get some interaction going, get some conversations going, and also hoping that this can become kind of a social hub for ladies to get together and meet one another in hopes that maybe you can meet somebody on these platforms and create some relationships and hopefully get out in the field and enjoy whatever it is that you like to do, whether it's just hiking or camping, hunting, fishing, whatever the outdoor activity that you enjoy and love. You have a social network to get involved. So I'll go ahead and pass the baton over to Tristana. I feel like we're all in the Brady Bunch. I will pass it over to Tristana so she can introduce herself, and then she can pass the baton over to the other staff members that have joined us this evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Bickford. I am the department's communications director. I am based out of our Santa Fe office and currently working from home. So I'm excited tonight to talk about big game hunting. I'm not sure if you've caught some of our other social hours and programs, webinars that we've had talking about the draw, but I think this is a great opportunity to expand on those conversations and answer some specific questions that you might have or that you might have generated after those previous webinars or other ladies webinars. So I'm really excited. I do want to mention to everyone that we are recording this and we will get it up on YouTube as soon as we possibly can if you want to swing back in and get information. But just wanted you to have a heads up that we are recording, everyone. So thank you all and thank you all for joining us and welcome tonight. So Jessica, I'll kick it over to you.
I just saw this t-shirt and it says you're on mute and it has the microphone red and I'm like, oh, that's how I feel most days. Jessica Fisher, I'm the shooting program coordinator and I work at the Santa Fe office, and like everybody else, I'm here at my house, been here for almost a year. I never imagined in my life that we would still be here, but excited to see everyone. It's nice to see faces, and excited for tonight's social hour, and we've got great guests with us, but I'm going to kick it to Megan and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Otero. I'm the assistant coordinator for Hunter Education. I've been with the department 11 years. So, wow, like, I hadn't said that out loud. Been with them for 11 years. I started off as a game warden in the Santa Fe area. So I'm still an officer. I just I don't have a district no more. I now work with Hunter Education, but welcome, and hopefully we can get all your questions answered. And go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Nicole Tatman. I'm the big game program manager for the department, and I'm based out of Santa Fe as well. So my role in the agency is I supervise all the big game biologists, so like the deer biologists, elk biologists, bighorn sheep, etc. And so our role within our little section is to fly aerial surveys, come up with some hunting recommendations on the number of licenses that can be allocated in certain places, and assess populations to make sure that they can sustain a certain level of harvest. So our background is biology, and yeah, I'm excited to chat with you all today and see where the conversation goes.
Perfect, welcome, and thank you. So kind of how this evening is going to work is I do also see that we've got some phone-in folks, so we don't want to leave you out as well just because you can't participate on the chat. But if you do have questions, we definitely welcome you to unmute yourself and be able to answer or ask any questions that you might have since you've joined us over the phone. But for those of you who might not be 100% familiar with Zoom, I'll just give a very quick little overview. There's a chat function. So somewhere probably on your screen or device there's a little thought bubble and it'll say chat. You can click on that and you can put your questions in the chat, and we've got folks that are going to be monitoring that for questions. And then also you can just simply, if you're joining us video wise, you can indicate to us by raising your hand or using the reactions button to raise your hand, and we will notify, or we'll be looking for those reactions or watching you. That way we can address any questions or comments that you might have in regards to, and Jessica just showed that little raise hand button. If you have the reactions, it kind of looks like a little emoji on your toolbar, and it will give you the opportunity to select raise hand and other little cute little emojis that are available. So you can utilize that function, or if you don't have that, sometimes phones and tablets can be a little quirky with Zoom. So for some reason, if you don't have the functionality on that, or you're not participating over video, you can, or if you are on video but don't have that, you can just simply raise your hand. And then obviously for some of you who don't have video capabilities with us today, we definitely want to be able to have you participate verbally with us. And so you can unmute yourself or use the chat, let us know you have a question, and we'll address those. So before we get really into tonight's topic, which we're going to be discussing, how to apply for the big game hunts, and more specifically, hunting opportunities, harvest opportunities versus just regular opportunities, species availability, etc. The baseline that everybody does need to have, because I see that there's some newbies that are with us this is their very first window into how in the heck do I apply for a big game hunt, or what licenses do I need. The very first thing that you need to do is just become a customer with the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, and that's creating a customer account or a customer profile with us. And then that is your unique login to New Mexico Game and Fish, where you purchase your licenses online, you apply for hunts online, you can actually register for training opportunities like hunter education or other things available through that account. So at some point we can put that link in the chat, and we utilize the chat quite a bit as well to provide you guys links. That way you can copy and paste them into your browser or bookmark them to use at a later date. But Megan just put up there in the chat the link to create that customer profile. And essentially you put in your personal information, create that customer profile, and that is yours for life with the agency. And that is still also the window of where you can go to purchase just your basic license and apply for those hunts. So that's just very, very, very basic. And I do know that several folks had asked some questions of, I'm looking at my notes here, that what are some of those good units to apply for? So I'll just turn that over to maybe Nicole, and maybe you can give these ladies a good window of what are some of those good units that you're looking for overall, and then maybe if somebody has some specific questions about species, which I think we do have some in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, so for big game hunting in general, we sort of have a couple of different ways that we manage hunts. And so we have what's called a quality area. And so in these areas, we offer fewer licenses. So they're a little harder to draw if you put in for the draw for them. But you're more than likely going to encounter animals to harvest. Like you have a better chance of actually encountering animals. The other sort of way that we manage is called opportunity. And in these areas, we offer more licenses. And so these might be for folks that just, like myself, who just want an opportunity to go hunting, period. Like I'm happy to walk around the mountains and try and find the animal, but I'd rather go out hunting than not go hunting. And so there's a couple of different, strategies on how we manage big game. And so it might depend on the species that you're interested in, and also sort of your hunting tactic on what you might want to apply for. So For example, elk, probably the best units in the state are going to be in the Gila. And there's always exceptions to this. You can certainly get into animals in any place that we offer hunts, but the Gila for elk is probably the premier area of the state, and everybody thinks of for wanting to hunt big, large males. But I mean, not everybody likes just to go hunting for big antlers. I like to go hunting to be able to put food on the table, and so I don't really care about the antlers so much. I just so soon have a cow tag than a bull tag, but some people really like to go for the antlers, and that's great too. And so for elk in those areas in the Gila, those are going to be harder to draw, but you're going to have more of an opportunity to encounter a variety of animals. You're going to probably see a lot more animals. You're not going to see as many hunters in the field. Whereas there are some other units, maybe like up in the north central part of the state, kind of around Chama, maybe units 51, 50. There are more hunters out there. So you might run into a few more people, but you're also more likely to draw those tags. And so it's kind of dependent on what species you're interested in and how you like to hunt. And I always try and sort of stack my odds for the premier hunts first. So I will put in for a bull hunt in the Gila as my first choice. And then some of my second and third choices, I just want to be able to go hunting. If I don't get that Gila tag, that's okay. And so I'll put in for some like easier draw for my second or third choice hunts. So that's an example for elk. I'm not really paying attention to the chat. Do you guys see any questions specific to other species, or I can just go on and talk about some other species as well?
Megan?
So this question, I think, kind of tied into a couple of others. The question was, are you required to have a license tag to hunt your own rural land? Does it matter what species you are hunting? Squirrel, deer, etc. So I think that ties more into private land. And that came from Carol. So Carol, if I'm not interpreting that right, please go ahead and unmute and let us know.
Yeah, so I'll answer some of it, and ladies from Game and Fish, if I'm missing something, which I very well might be, please chime in. You are required to have a license if you're hunting in the state of New Mexico on private land, and it does matter what species you're hunting unless it is a not protected species. So let's see, rabbits are not a protected species, coyotes are not a protected species. So I do not believe that you need a license to hunt those. Somebody else chime in if I am mistaken there.
That's correct.
If you are interested in hunting deer on your own private land, it's essentially kind of an over-the-counter system, for example. So like you would go to the hunts that you might be interested in that are in your unit that are public draw hunts, and you would kind of select the time frame that you're interested in hunting, and then you could buy a tag for hunting deer on your own property in that way. Elk, it can be a little more complicated, and I don't want to go into all the hairy details of that, but I guess if you're interested, Carol, in hunting elk on your own property, maybe you could, I'll drop my email and number in the chat, and you can contact me directly for that, because there's lots of special things regarding elk hunting on private land that takes too long to talk about. We could have 3 hours and it still wouldn't be enough time to talk about that.
And the antelope system is also very similar to the deer system now. So if you have some private land with pronghorn on it, it is now handled very similar, or pretty much the same now as private land deer. You still need to have that particular license, and everybody needs to have the basic game hunting license. So you definitely need to have that, and then that species specific license.
So Jen, maybe what's included in the game hunting license? So part of that was squirrel. So.
Yes, so the basic game hunting license will allow you to hunt small game, which includes squirrel. It allows you to hunt upland birds. It does allow you to hunt the migratory species, but then you also need to have special stamps in regards to hunting any migratory birds. So I know that there have been some questions actually the last couple of weeks as to what types of stamps and other validations that you need to have So your basic license is that game hunting license. There's also a junior game hunting license if you're under 18, or a senior game hunting license if I totally spaced the age right now, so somebody can help me out with that. But there's there's a senior game hunting license as well. But you have that, and then of course the habitat stamp, which is well, that's going to get complicated now too. So if you purchase that prior to April 1st, it's $5. If you purchase it after April 1st or April 1st on, it's 10, and that's if you're going to be hunting on BLM or Forest Service lands. So which is where most of our hunters do hunt and draw hunts for. And so you'll need to have that validation, and of course the $4 habitat access and management validation that you'll need to hunt big game as well for adults. So there are some specific things that you will need to have when you apply or purchase a license.
Jennifer, I believe the senior licenses for 65 and older.
My brain was thinking that, but I didn't want to misquote something. So before I open my mouth with numbers, I wanted to make sure. So thank you.
So we did have a question from Kelsey. What dates are you more likely to encounter elk on public land? So Nicole, you can answer that one.
Yeah. I would say probably the best chance you have to encounter elk on public land is the breeding season for them, and that's the end of September into the beginning of October. So this is when the bulls are bugling, they're talking to one another, announcing their presence and rounding up their harem for breeding rights. And so at that time of year, they're really noticeable with your ear, and also they're a little less leery of people at that time of year as well, because they're busy doing their thing and getting busy, and they're not so concerned about people around them. So that's probably the best time of year you can encounter elk. And it's also really awesome, just even if you don't have a hunting license, to go into the field and watch them do their rutting behavior. And the males call to one another, they roll around in these big mud piles and just cause a ruckus, and they're loud and really dynamic and interesting. So even if you don't have a license, I recommend doing that. Even if people don't like going hunting, it's still a cool thing to do. And you could probably encounter elk at any time of year on public land, to be honest. They're not going to be up in the higher elevations right now while the snow is falling. They're more than likely going to be down in the lower elevations where there's less snow. So it sort of depends on the time of year, whereas like the summertime, you're probably more likely to see them maybe up in the higher elevations where they can take advantage of that green forage that the snow melt can give them access to. So it sort of depends on the time of year, but my favorite time to see elk is the rut. So that's end of September through beginning of October time period.
On what Nicole was talking about too, is that might depend upon what types of hunts that you want to apply for. If you're not really a fan of high elevation or wilderness type of hunting experiences, then those early season hunts might not work out quite so well for you, where those animals are going to be higher up in elevation, and it's going to cause you to have to possibly pack in more and do a little bit more remote style of hunting, to where if you're hoping to have maybe more of a lower elevation type of hunt, or where the animals are being pushed out of those high country areas lower, then those later season hunts might work better for you. So some of it depends. I mean, we've had a crazy year this year to where it was super hot, and now we're finally getting snow. So we can't always, pinpoint that exactly, but in a roundabout way, that is typically the behavior that you'll experience when hunting any big game animal that are deer and elk, is that the later the season, if we get some weather, it'll push them down lower, make them a little more accessible.
So we had another question in here, and Tristana, I think you could probably give us some insight. It asked, where can we get a printed proclamation? And I know Jessica gave a list, or put a link for a list for vendor, but if you want to kind of just go over where we can find that.
Sure. So the rules and information booklet can be found off of the website. But if you're like Jessica, she went to Walmart today, I'm guessing, and picked that up. That's my plan, and I forgot to do it when I was shopping this weekend. So the printed rules and information booklet shipped out from the vendor on Wednesday last week. So they should have been before the storms hit. So we're just waiting on vendors to get them out on shelves. But I've heard reports that Walmart's have them out pretty significantly. I think Cabela's has had them out, Sportsman's Warehouse, and a lot of the major license selling agents. If you live in a rural community, I know it can be a bit tricky. So jump onto that link that Jessica provided in the chat, and you can search by city and find a vendor that's near you. If you live out of state, I know that is not very convenient for anybody, but if you live out of state or truly don't have access to go to a vendor, send us an email. You can reply to the email that I sent and we can get one in the mail to you. But they should be out on shelves now. So if you can get to Walmart, go pick them up.
I actually went to Big R. It was awesome.
There you go. I assumed. That's what you get.
It's okay.
All right, we have a question here from Sue. Are the odds to be drawn more likely with a bow versus a rifle? Who wants to take a stab at that one?
I could take a stab at it, and then
All right.
anyone else can chime in too. You're probably more likely to be drawn if you put in for archery hunts, but your success at actually getting an animal might not be as good. So I started archery hunting just a couple of years ago. I have not been successful yet, but I started trying to archery hunt because I wanted to actually be able to go hunting, like I mentioned before. So that was a good way to actually just draw a tag of any sort. It's super fun. You can get real close to animals. But like I said, I haven't actually had success with a bow tag. So with a rifle, though, you're going to have probably a higher chance at success. Although that tag is going to be a little harder to draw, the odds are a little worse than for archery. So any other ladies want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I'll build on that as well. You're spot on with that. It does depend on your skill level. So if you are completely new to hunting and you're wanting to get out there, maybe archery hunting and a bow hunt might not be the best plan of attack for you. But I actually am the exception to the rule here. My first hunt and my first major hunting opportunity, I started bow hunting before I got into anything else. So I'm kind of the backwards person. But it was easier for me to draw that archery tag than a rifle tag. Somewhere kind of in the middle is your muzzleloader tags, but again, that is another skill set that if you're not really very comfortable with hunting to begin with, start off with your rifle hunts. Your maximum effective range is going to be greater with a rifle hunt. The equipment is typically less expensive, and it's easier to get into it that way. And then as you get more comfortable, you get more experienced, you can start changing up that equipment method and applying for other tags. There's been also some bad information out there to where people think I can just go to Kmart or a local sporting goods store and buy the bow off the shelf or buy the muzzle loader off the shelf and take it home and just get right into it. So if you are considering a lesser method of take, like a bow hunt or archery hunt, go to a qualified shop and have those people help you. Some people don't maybe want to do a rifle hunt because maybe it's maybe more intimidating and if you've never shot a gun before. So archery is another way to get into hunting. And I like it because you do have to get more intimate with the animal. You have to get so incredibly close to get within your maximum effective range. So, but if you are exploring that route as a method, make sure that you go to a qualified place so they can help you, because it's no fun to get equipment set up, buy equipment that is not set up for you. And archery does take that extra knowledge to get set up appropriately for you so you have a good experience.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question. How can you get started in hunting if none of your friends hunt and you do not have money for a guided hunt? Jess, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. So, Carol, I wish I had an easy answer for you on that one. You know, pre-COVID, we did some ladies hunting camps. With this COVID situation, it is a little tougher to gather together and do that educational piece and build that those relationships that we hope to foster through this. And so that's kind of why we're meeting in this platform. One tool we do have is there is a Facebook page group called DOES. It's Discover the Outdoors and Encourage Sportsmanship, and it's with the military and organization that was started here in New Mexico. They partnered with us to do that. The Wild Turkey Federation also has a ladies event. It's called WIDO, Women in the Outdoors. As far as I know, nobody is scheduling any workshops at this time, or even, you know, I'm not sure what WIDO is, what they're thinking. They usually do a big event in August. Yeah, in August. So there is an opportunity to go out of state hunting, and it's Wyoming does an antelope hunt for ladies, first-time lady hunters, and they offer some scholarships. And I could send you that link if any of you all are interested in that. Yes, we can post some of those links in the group chat. So we'll get right on that. And while we're going through things tonight, Megan and I will work on posting some links in the chat. But one way to get out there is, you know, like I said, we're building community right here, is just start exploring on your own. I know it's intimidating to hunt on your own, especially when maybe you have that opportunity where you're successful and it's like, now what do I do? I have an animal down. I am 5 foot tall. I am not a bodybuilder. And I have no desire to pack an elk out by myself. So there is those kind of hurdles that it really helps to have at least a partner to accompany you in those kind of things. If you're, I don't even know what, there are women that do that themselves. There are men that do that themselves. If that's where your goal is to do a backcountry hunt on your own and pack out your own elk, my suggestion is to hit the gym. But if that's not something that appeals to you, it is helpful to have somebody to go with you. And you know, we got a great group of ladies here, and WIDO is a great group, and DOES is a great group. Just throw it out there in those online forums and say, hey, you know, I drew a tag in this unit and I'm going hunting and I really want somebody to accompany me. And it's kind of like a dating app for hunting, I guess, is one way to put it. Is how do you meet up with that person, that mentor, that, or even just a partner that wants to explore that with you. Is so use social media to your advantage. You guys got anything you want to add to that?
You know, I might throw out there to look at some of the sportsmen's and sportswomen groups that are in New Mexico. And I think some of the relationships that I've built just being a part of those and going to meetings, when COVID restrictions start lifting, there's been organizations that'll have social hours at a bar or at some local place, and just to get out and meet people. And quite frequently you can find somebody that has the same interests and that you can connect with face to face, hopefully as soon as COVID starts dying down, to share those experiences with. But I know they can be a little bit intimidating to get involved with, but I know the ones that I have been involved with, they've really provided some good friendship opportunities and ability to just build a relationship with somebody that I wouldn't mind sharing a tent with. So, I would recommend looking at some of those and reaching out to them and just to see what they might have offering at the moment. I know the New Mexico Wildlife Federation just 2 weeks ago, I think, did I believe it was a quail hunt down in the southern part of the state, and it was specific for women, and so that was a great opportunity to get out. It's a very limited number, but it's, again, if you get that chance to get drawn then or go on those hunts, it's a great opportunity.
I think it's a goal of most conservation organizations right now is to create some kind of community for new hunters, and women are new hunters, or one of the fastest growing, what do I want to say? One of the fastest growing groups in hunting is women. It's left my mind. The
Demographic.
Thank you. I know it started with the D. It was right there.
It's a team approach.
Thanks. After a long day of being on the phone, I need somebody to help me.
Yeah, I just want to build off of what Tristiana said as well, is definitely don't second guess yourself on joining some of these these conservation organizations and groups. And even though right now things are very limited, they are offering some forums and ways to communicate with those groups so you can start getting involved. And I highly encourage you to, once things start opening up and opportunities start making themselves available, get with these groups and start networking, and just take that first step. It can be a little scary because of unknown sometimes, but you just got to make that initial first step. And then once you do that, you'll be super happy that you did. And you'll start meeting other women or other people that like to do the things that you enjoy, hunting and backpacking. And so it's a great way to start networking. And we're hoping that also with these opportunities that you can build off of these and create some communications and conversations with those in this group as well.
And again, maybe after COVID, I have one more thing to add to that, is a lot of the archery shops, and Carol, I just looked to see where you were from, and there's a couple archery shops in Albuquerque that they do, that they have ladies nights, and I know Gina Chavez at the archery shop is super motivated to help women get out hunting, and she also has a guide business, so she might try to push you to that, but she's also just a great resource. And even if you're not thinking about archery hunting, there's just attending one of those ladies nights and kind of getting introduced to people that like-minded is helpful.
And they have equipment for you to rent as well, so you don't have to have your own equipment. So that's super cool.
See, way up here we have the question: are you more likely to draw a hunt if you are a minor? Anybody?
So there are youth only hunts, but as with any of our hunting opportunities, there are a limited number of tags available. So you can kind of look and see, depending upon what you're wanting to apply for. You can take deer, for instance. It'll tell you what the youth only hunts are available, how many tags are allocated for each method, and then you can decide, do you want to just go and have opportunity? Sometimes also, if you have time to do a little bit more homework in your scouting, then that might be super fruitful to put in for a less, not a high quality demand hunt. Or do you want to put in for an area that might have fewer number of tags, but might produce more quality animals? So you have to take that into consideration. But what's nice about youth is they can not only apply for the youth only hunts, but they can also apply for the general population tags as well. So they, but just think of the bigger pool of people that are in that bigger, non-youth category. So sometimes youth can have a little bit better advantage, but it really just depends upon maybe the species that you're applying for and the type of hunt you're applying for.
I wanted to add to that, Jennifer, that if a youth applies for the draw and does not get drawn, they have a second chance. They can come back and apply for the youth encouragement hunts, which I believe they typically go on sale at the end of June, if I remember right. We'll send out a news release on that before it happens. But it's a great opportunity if they don't get into the first draw to come back and hopefully get in through the youth encouragement hunt. So make sure and check that out if you have a kiddo that might apply.
Awesome. Well, this is good. We're getting questions to keep conversations going. We're kind of all over the place, but that's okay. This is what everybody wants to know. We have another question. How does it work if you want to hunt with a specific people in your family? Do you apply as a group? So I guess it would be if you are wanting to attach. Let's see. Anybody want to take a stab at how to go through attaching hunts, Tristana?
Yeah, I can do that. So essentially what you're going to do is have the first person walk through the entire process and apply for the hunt. After you have paid, it's going to come up with a screen that has the confirmation of what you've applied for, and it will have an application number on there and an application code, and you will write those down and share them with people that want to apply on your application. So you will give those to them. They will go through the same process. When you log in to attach your application, instead of creating a new application, you will hit attach application and then enter the code and the application number, and it'll just automatically attach those in there. So make sure and only give those to people that you want to go hunting with. But it is a great way to go with a friend or a spouse or somebody that you are interested in spending time with.
And Tristana, could you elaborate? Is it up to 4? How many can apply on one application? Is it 4?
For most species, it's going to be 4. There are some species that are, I believe, only 2 people can apply for them, and a lot of that is based on the number of tags that are allocated for the species. And that's something to keep in mind if you're going to attach with somebody is, you know, if you have 4 people and you're going to apply for a hunt that has a small allocation, like 5 or 10 licenses, keep in mind that you have to be really high on that application list to get one of those few spots. So if you apply for something that has 100, 150, 200 tags available, then that's a great opportunity for everybody to go together. But you'll want to check that number that says how many tags will be allocated for that unit, so that you know that there's a good opportunity that everybody will be able to attach to that application and go hunting together. There are some species, I believe there's some that you can only apply with 2 people because of the limited opportunity. And then there's some species like bighorn sheep that you don't want to attach with anybody as much as you like that other person, because of there are so few tags. Your chance of getting drawn with one other person that you know is virtually none. So we want to double check the tags that are allocated and make sure that you're applying for a unit and a hunt code that has a sufficient number of applications. The other thing I would look at is if you plan on applying with somebody who is a non-resident, they are allocated a different portion of licenses. So when we go through the draw, if there's 100 licenses that are available, 84 of those will go to residents, 6 will go to 84% go to residents, 6% to non-residents, and 10% to people applying with a guide or an outfitter. So that is something you're also going to want to look at and make sure that there's a high enough number of tags that are being allocated that the non-resident will also have a good chance of getting drawn. That's a little bit confusing, but there's a lot of details that go in there. Jump in if anybody has anything else to add.
I'll add to that as well, especially if you're doing essentially a party application, so you're applying with more than one person, is everybody's assigned a code per se, or application number, and that's put into the system for the draw. And if you are on an application with 4 other people and there are only 3 tags left in that pool, and your sequence number is drawn and there's more applicants than tags available, then you will be rolled. So it won't just fill 3 on that application and one person's unlucky. It will literally throw all of you out and go to the next sequence number that can fill 1, 2, or 3 and not go over. So sometimes, and I kind of saw this in the chat, is does it increase my odds of putting in with somebody else, or does it decrease my odds? Well, it really just depends upon the species and the number of tags available on what you're going to apply for. And some people think maybe it does increase your advantages because they've been lucky enough to put in with somebody and they're constantly drawing those tags. But it really just kind of depends. What is nice though is if you plan on hunting with somebody and you apply together and one person draws, then you're also probably going to draw that same opportunity, and then you do get to go on a hunt with somebody else. But it's just on personal preference if you want to apply with somebody else or, you know, throw your name out there separately. It just depends. So, and Nicole, I don't know if you have any tips or or anything like that regarding those.
No, I think that you ladies covered it pretty comprehensively there.
Well, Nicole, I wouldn't unmute. I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is the best unit to put in for pronghorn?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I'm a teacher here because my answer to everything starts with "it depends." but here we go again. It depends. If you are looking for just an opportunity to see a ton of animals, like a lot of pronghorn, period, and a decent chance at drawing, the northeastern part of the state is great for pronghorn. So those are units like 56, 57, 58, 47, 42, essentially the far northeastern quadrant of the state where there is a plains type of habitat. There's going to be a really good opportunity to encounter animals. But in those areas, there's less public land to access. So there's quite a bit of private land. So you're going to have to be really careful and not access private land without permission. Permission can be tricky, but in any of those places where a pronghorn draw opportunity is available, you can access public land and get into pronghorn. And success rates are really high. They're above 70%, which is extremely high for hunting in any of those units in the Northeast. If you are looking for like a really big pronghorn, like a Boone and Crockett pronghorn, New Mexico actually has the world record Boone and Crockett pronghorn, which means it's got the biggest horns out of any other pronghorn that's ever been harvested. And that animal is harvested in the southwestern part of the state. So if you're looking for like a Boone and Crockett type animal, which just means like it's got really big horns, I would look at units 12, 13, 15, 16 units in that southwest, or I guess west central part of the state, kind of north of the Gila Mountains.
Awesome. So I don't have any more questions in the chat. Is there anyone that has a question in general that they maybe want to go ahead and unmute? I haven't seen any hands up, so I think we have kind of a shy group.
Megan, I was wondering if Jennifer Black wouldn't mind unmuting and talking about her experience on the quail hunt that she went on a few weeks ago.
Sure, I don't mind talking about that. So there were 6 women all together, and we got to go out with different dog handlers, and I mean that was the focus of the trip. So we went out quite a bit. I didn't find, well, I saw some birds, but I didn't get to take any shots because I didn't, one was on the ground and I didn't want to shoot the dog, which wasn't close, but I didn't know where he was. And then there was a bird that had flown, but it was back behind me, and I didn't take that shot either because I didn't know where all the people were. And it just went all so fast. So we had a presentation from Chris Parrish, who's with the non-lead or North American non-lead partnership. And we got to learn about voluntary non-usage of non-lead ammo. and the impact that it has on the ecosystem, which was interesting. Yeah, and so did you want to know anything more specific?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how were you chosen, or how did you find out about that hunt? And do you know if they're going to be doing anything else like that in the near future?
Yeah, so I got on the New Mexico Wildlife Federation mailing list. It's free. And so I got the announcement through the email, just like everyone else who is signed up for the newsletter. And there was an application process. There were I think 2 new women, like never ever hunters, and then one other person like me who had done a little bit of hunting, and then one woman who had been out. She primarily duck hunts with her son for about 3 years now, and so that was the application process, or how we were picked. And then what was the other question?
Do you know if they're going to be doing more events like this in the future, or anytime soon?
Yeah, so there's been talk about doing something for spring turkey, but all of that, depends on the COVID restrictions, and so we had to take all of that into account while we were out, and we're of course properly socially distanced, and yeah.
Thank you. I saw some posts on social media, and it looked like a really cool opportunity. So I just wanted to share more information with everybody, and I didn't know much about it. So thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
All right, Megan, I'll turn it back over.
Well, that gave us enough time to get some more questions put in. So here's a question. If you draw a tag for 3 people, but someone is not able to go, what happens to that leftover tag? Who wants to take a shot at that one? Jess?
I could take a shot at it. So if you know in advance that that person is not going to be able to go, that tag can be transferred to another person. It helps if you know well in advance that they're not going to go, like, a minimum of 2 weeks. It also can be donated. There are several organizations in New Mexico that are charity organizations, and they take disadvantaged, handicapped, veterans, first responders, youth, kind of might hit in that list, right? You could donate that tag to those organizations, and they take out those hunters. I think usually it's pretty free of charge to that hunter. So there's that opportunity to either transfer or donate. There is 0 chance of refund unless the person has passed away, been military, been when you get deployed. Thank you. Oh, my D words today. So those are your chances. Really, those are your 2 chances of a refund, your biggest chances, or major illness, life-threatening illness. So otherwise, if the person just doesn't go, then that's just a tag that they bought that just nobody hunts on, and that's unfortunate. So it's always nice if it can get transferred or donated if the person knows they're not going to be able to go.
All right, I have a couple of questions here, and I'm gonna kind of skip one of them, and we'll come back to it because I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit longer one. But why are elk hunting units smaller than deer hunting units? Nicole, do you?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So we use hunting units to kind of distribute hunters where animals are located. And so, for example, I'm not sure where you're from, but like unit 16, it's split into 5 subunits for elk hunting, but it's 1 unit for the purpose of deer hunting. And the reason for that is there are a lot more elk in that country than there are deer. And so we don't want to put 500 elk hunters out in unit 16 without the subunits. So 16 has 16A, B, C, D, E. We don't want to put all 500 hunters out all at once because it would be kind of mayhem, right? Everybody would be driving on the roads and nobody would be having a good time because you'd be encountering everybody else in the field. And so the way that we distribute hunters is we like have subunits then, and then we assign a certain amount of tags to certain subunits based on how many elk that how many elk we're seeing in our biological surveys. And so that's why some deer units are bigger than elk units. Elk are widely distributed across the state, and so are deer, but in some places elk can be a little more concentrated than others. And in those places that they might be more concentrated, we sort of distribute hunting pressure by coming up with subunits for elk. That way, not everybody is going to the same exact area to go hunt elk. They're sort of, they're assigned their own special area.
Thank you. So here's another question, and I think it's going to be pretty based on opinion for each one of us. What is the easiest species to start with? Jen, you want to start with that one?
Sure. So yeah, this totally depends upon personal preferences and what you do like to hunt. But I'm going to tell you right now that opportunity and the type of species that will provide you ample time to find them and hunt them all day are javelina and pronghorn. Javelina is very much overlooked. I know a lot of people don't like to eat them, but at the same time, they're a lot of fun to hunt. It's very low key, not a lot of, I mean, it does take some effort. It just depends, because especially if you want to get away from other hunters, but you can hunt javelina pretty much all day, and you can definitely pack one out very, very easily. If you have a bad stock, your chances of finding another group of javelina are very high, and so you can do that all day, and you don't have to kill yourself to find a javelina. Pronghorn are the same. You can hunt them all day. You don't have to worry about them hiding in the timber for most of your day and then waiting for them, either a small little sliver of time in the morning and then maybe a small sliver of time in the evening. You can hunt pronghorn all day, and they give you opportunities all day. And if you, again, bust a stock on one group, well, then you can pick up, learn from your mistakes, and move on to the next one, and it might not be too far down the road. So those are the two really great introductory big game species to hunt. There's some cow elk hunts that also offer opportunities like that as well, depending on the unit. But I'll toss the ball out there to somebody else who wants to maybe add to that conversation.
I might throw out there that dove hunting provides a lot of shooting opportunity if you get into the dove, and it's a really fun it's a fun hunt, and like I said, lots of shooting opportunity. And so, you know, like everybody else, it depends what you're looking for. I mean, are you looking for that, you know, you're going to shoot once all season, or do you want to you know, get some trigger time in? And you know, the bag limit for dove is 15, and along with pronghorn and javelina is that you don't have to have a lot of specialized gear. You don't necessarily have to have cold weather gear. You can hunt in orange, pink, purple, blue, whatever color you want with dove. And so you don't have to worry about camouflage. So there's lots of things to consider when you're deciding what you want to hunt first. And I think antelope will see you from a long ways away, and so I think that's one where it's it's a great thing that you can hunt them all day, but you might need some special clothing to hunt. So.
Okay.
So one thing I also want to add. Oh, go ahead, Nicole.
I'll go. You can add. I'll chime in after you.
Okay. is squirrel hunting. I have done that a couple of times. They sometimes can be hard to find. The big Abert squirrel I've noticed the species are dwindling a little bit in certain areas. I'm not too sure what's going on with those, but there's also some the little red squirrels. They're a lot of fun to hunt. And again, it's something you could do all day. You take your 22 or a little 410 shotgun, super low key. You can wear whatever you want. You don't sometimes have to be concerned with really cold weather. It's kind of a fair weather hunt. It's fun, and you can pack a lunch, and you're just kind of walking around the woods trying to find squirrels, and it's a lot of fun. And it is a great opportunity to get a first-time hunter in the field, youth hunters, because it's very low key and it's not intimidating. And you don't have to really stress about anything. So it's a really good time as well to get out there and do a little bit of squirrel hunting. But it can be challenging sometimes to find a good place to go. It's not like squirrel hunting back in the Midwest or maybe in Texas where there's literally squirrels everywhere. But there are pockets of them, and when you do find them, they're a lot of fun to shoot. And grouse as well. They're pretty low key, but they're harder to find and in higher elevations. So, but grouse hunting is a good time.
Yeah, I was actually going to say squirrel and grouse are pretty fun to do. So squirrel is more low key than big game hunting because you can encounter more of them if you get into the right place. Doesn't really matter what time of day you're out. You kind of get more excited. So overall hunting is. But if you're looking for some sort of a hunt to like fill your freezer and eat for, a year, squirrels probably aren't going to get you too far. Yeah, I think Megan was right in that we're going to get like 5 completely different answers on what's the easiest species to hunt. My first big game animal was an oryx. I had elk hunts before, and I had finally drawn an oryx hunt and had success with that. I think for that the reason I had success there was that I was encountering a lot of animals, and I had practiced shooting at a longer range, and so that's probably one of the limiting factors for oryx. It's a harder species to draw, and you're going to have to take a shot that's a longer distance, but you do definitely see a lot of oryx in the field when you do go hunt them. But cow elk hunting as well, depending on the time of year and the density of animals, you have a chance to encounter a lot of animals and kind of take your time with setting yourself up for a shot and for success if your goal is ultimately to fill your freezer full of meat.
All right. I'll just put in that my first hunt was a turkey, and it was very eye-opening to me because it was a cold morning. I did have to learn to sit there and be patient. I was successful, but that taught me a lot that if this was something I really want to do, I have to be ready to deal with all of that. And I was. So for me, the turkey hunt ended up being a good thing because I had to learn the patience of sitting there and waiting, and learned a little bit about calling and everything that goes into it. But for my first hunt, turkey was pretty good, pretty successful, but it can be a little bit more challenging as far as hunts go, as what's the easiest to start with. But all right, so I don't know where we at with time. I have one question here that I think would be really good, that I think a lot of ladies would want to know. How are the responses to the harvest reports used to formulate the number of tags in a unit? Nicole?
I'm sorry, I was busy answering a chat question, and I completely was ignoring you, Megan. Can you repeat that question?
That's all right, I can read it again. How are the responses to the harvest reports used to formulate the number of tags in a unit?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we really rely heavily on harvest reports and hunters submitting those harvest reports, because we can determine what the success rate is for a unit. So for example, we fly our aerial surveys and determine that 25 elk can be harvested out of this particular area, and that's going to be sustainable and that's not going to harm the population. And so we go through and we want to harvest 25, right? Well, we wouldn't just put out 25 hunters because some proportion of those people are not going to be successful. And so if we get responses from other people who have hunted that area, and let's say success is only 50%. So we would want to put out double the amount of tags in that area to actually achieve the goal of having 25 animals actually harvested. So if we determined 25 animals needed to be harvested or could be harvested in a sustainable manner, we would offer 50 licenses with the idea that only half of those people would be successful, and that we would be at least in the realm of our goal of harvesting around 25 animals.
Thank you. So I think we're getting a little bit over the time we had allotted. I will throw it back to Tristana. You have a poll question you want to throw out there?
And I'll add, while I'm going to put this up, we can stay later. So if anybody has questions, keep throwing them at us, because we don't mind staying a little bit longer if you guys have something that you're interested in. But we were talking earlier in our next social hour, we are looking at probably May 24th, I believe. Not May, March. 23rd is what we're looking at for the next social hour, and we're hoping that you guys can help direct us on topics. So I threw together a poll, and I'm going to go ahead and put that up. There are some ideas here for topics for us to cover. If you have other topics, throw them into the chat, because we would love to hear what you guys want to talk about. So some of the ideas we had: spring turkey hunting and calling. I know nothing about, but I know I need to learn. So that's definitely a good one. Spring fishing, fishing laws. And some of these we might be able to combine. In the past, we've been able to cover a couple of topics in a session. So let us know what you think.
I have something I want to throw out before we leave too. I had a interesting conversation with a gentleman today about the premium statewide deer hunt. So when the poll's over, I kind of have a question on that one.
I'll give it another couple of seconds, but people are slowing down and answering. So, just kidding. Just kidding. And I guess while we're sitting here, I want to remind everybody that the deadline to apply is March 17th at 5 p.m. So if you're planning on applying, make sure and have it completed by 5 p.m. And if you apply before March 10th and select and allow us to send you emails, we will put you into an extra drawing for some incentives. Several organizations have come on board to partner with us and try and encourage people to go ahead and apply. So for instance, Onyx has given 3 elite membership packages to this program. And so 3 people will get the elite package, but everybody who applies early will get a 20% off of a new membership for Onyx. So if you are looking to start hunting early or looking to start hunting and have not purchased the Onyx app, it's a great way to get that for a reduced cost. We also have a Yeti cooler and an external frame backpack that Sportsman's Warehouse have donated. Federal Ammunition has sent us some really cool swag packs. They're really cool, I know, because they mailed them to me and I've gotten to see what's in them. And then they've also done a 15% discount on everything on their website except for ammunition. So they have some really cool concealed carry packs, as well as, oh my goodness, all kinds of clothing and gear, binoculars, all kinds of stuff. So they have a 15% discount that they're giving to everybody that applies early. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And that deadline is March 10th. And then if you did apply for the turkey and bear hunt, keep an eye, because I hear those results are coming out very soon. So keep an eye on your email box and on your online account. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and end our poll. It looks like in March, we're going to be talking about spring turkey hunting, calling, and patterning. And then if we have time, we're going to talk about some fishing tips and tricks and challenges. So looks like that's where we're headed in March. And if you guys have any other ideas, please make sure and send them to us at any time, because we would love to have some great ideas for future topics. So back. Jessica, you said you had another topic.
Yeah, so I took a call from a guy today, and he said everybody's first choice should be the DER-1-700, and that's the premium statewide deer hunt, which is any legal weapon type, and it's September 1st through January 31st. And I just was curious what everybody else thought about putting that as your first choice, if that's something you absolutely do and you recommend, or if it's a personal preference, or just any thoughts on that at all.
I'll give my 2 cents first, I guess. It is the premier hunting tag in the state. There's only one offered. The first year that it was offered, I was talking to some coworkers, and I was like, I'm not putting in for that. I'm never going to draw it. And somebody that I talked to about this, the joke was on me, because when the draw came around, they reached back out to me and they're like, I drew that tag. Oh my God, I drew the tag. So I don't put in for it, but you have to put in for it to actually draw it. So yeah.
It wasn't somebody that worked for the department that drew that, was it?
The very first one, it was. Yeah. Yeah. And it is a completely random draw. And so I was the elk biologist for several years. And since I've been working for the department, so if there were some like secret thing going on, right, wouldn't I give myself elk tags? But I have not drawn an elk tag since I've been working for the department. There's this little weird secret thing going on, because I can't manage to draw elk tags. So.
Jen,
I would say for me, it just depends on the year. Some years, if I think like, oh, it's going to be a busy year with other things in my life, I'll put it in, because it's one of those like, oh, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, oh well. But if it's a year that I'm like, no, I really want to go, I tend not to put in for it. So for me, it just kind of depends on that year and what I think my whole year is going to look like and how much I really want to go out.
Tristana,
It's definitely one of those things where Nicole said you definitely won't draw if you don't apply. So if you do draw, it is a phenomenal hunting opportunity.
So it sounds like other states have these points and stuff, and I was reading someone's comment about she's applied 4 years in a row and hasn't gotten anything. I mean, does that mean a lot of people are kind of frustrated and going to other states to hunt, or how does that work?
Well, it really depends. It goes off of kind of what we were talking about earlier. I typically apply for hunts where it's high quality, high demand hunts. And I know that if I am lucky enough to draw, I'm probably going to pull a pretty good animal out of there, or there's going to be higher concentrations of animals. And so, but I do recognize that there's going to possibly be fewer tags for that particular unit that I'm applying for. I'm going to throw out there 16A archery elk second choice or second hunt code. That is a really hard hunt to draw. And I can go off of what Nicole was saying. I've been putting in for public land elk for, oh my gosh, over 20 years, and I've drawn one public land elk tag. So I feel frustration. And it was a muzzleloader cow tag on the Caldera. But it was a great hunt when I did draw. So it can be frustrating, but I do recognize that's the chance I'm going to take if I'm going to put in for some of those lower number tags in a particular unit, or for a species that have lower amounts of tags, ibex or bighorn sheep. So, but sometimes other states, you can apply for other hunts in other states, and then it gets real convoluted sometimes with the preference points, and sometimes that can increase your chances of drawing, but sometimes it can't. I like the total random system because you just never know if you're going to draw, and I'm not a fan of the preference points. I apply for Arizona, and it's never a guarantee either. And sometimes you have to pay for those extra points, so it becomes a money game, and I don't like that. I like to just be, I'm going to throw my name in the hat, and hopefully I'll draw, and I've been more successful that way than playing the preference point system, but that's just my personal opinion.
So I grew up in a state learning to hunt, and Tristana did the same. She grew up in Arizona. I grew up in Oregon. Both states have a preference point system, and so that's what I got used to. And how the Oregon system works is that, you know, when you reach a certain number of points, that your chances of drawing have increased tremendously, and we always applied and earned the points, but maybe drew a lesser tag at time. It's a convoluted system, but to say that our random draw is driving people to other states, I don't think is necessarily an accurate statement to say that that's what pushes people, because we have a ton of people from out of state that apply in New Mexico. We are a premium hunting state, and people want to hunt New Mexico, so they definitely come here. And I'll let Tristana talk about points. I know she drew a premium mule deer hunt a couple years ago in Arizona because of her points. So
I agree. And I don't know that I believe that the point system is driving people away. I see the comments on social media very frequently, but I also see the number of people that continue to buy hunting licenses in the state. And I don't know anybody that's personally gone out of state. So I kind of think a lot of that conversation is just hype and general frustration. And as far as the systems, I think there's pluses and minuses to both systems. You know, I drew a really, really nice deer tag 2 years ago in Arizona, but I did not draw a deer tag for 17 years in Arizona. And for me personally, I like to go hunting to spend time with my family. And my dad is now 68. And so I look at the opportunities that I'm going to get to go hunting with my dad again, that I can get a tag. In Arizona, it's my choice now. Either I can put in for a tag that I may not have a trophy class mule deer and have a higher opportunity to go hunting with my dad, or I can start saving my bonus points, and hopefully in 17 plus more years, I'll get that high quality hunt again. And I think it's hard because I did draw that hunt, and it was one of the funnest hunts I've ever been on in my life. Just the number of quality deer that I saw was absolutely amazing. And I ended up harvesting a really nice deer, but I also spent 10 days north of the Grand Canyon with just my dad. And so I have to weigh those two of, you know, which is going to be better for me personally. And so I really like the opportunity here that I can put in. I typically, when I put in, I'll put in for a trophy quality bull or a buck as my first choice. But further down my list, I will have options on there that I have the opportunity to go drawn. I was lucky enough last year to get a public land elk hunt. I saw one bull in my unit the entire time. I saw no cows, but I did get to spend several days in the field and just getting to go hunting. And so I had that opportunity. I carried a gun around. I have scratches that I still think are there from some of the places that we crawled around in. So I think there's pluses and minuses to both systems. It'll be interesting to see what we do as a state in the next few years, because there are good and there are bad, and it's just a matter of what your personal goals are and why you want to go. I think that's the driving factor in the end.
All right. Well, I don't have any other questions. I'm going to throw in the chat, though, for those of you who might be new to our social hours. During a previous social hour, we did go a little bit more in depth in how to apply for the big game draw. Gives you a little bit more detail on step by step. So I'm going to throw that link for the YouTube video up in the chat. And all of our social hours that we've done are also on our YouTube channel. So you know, if you're new to this social hour, definitely go check those out and hopefully you can learn a few things from those social hours, or maybe it'll raise more questions and you can bring it to our next social hour for a new topic that we end up discussing. But I know for some that are new, they might want a little bit more information on how to actually apply. But
Great,
no more questions in the chat, so.
Thanks, Megan, for that. And I want to thank all the ladies for participating this evening, and everybody out there who I saw we have a couple phone-ins, so I'm not sure who exactly you are, but thank you all so much for your participation. I'd like to thank Nicole for joining us this evening, and all of her insight and expertise is greatly appreciated. And Jessica, Tristana, and Megan. So thank you all so very much. And so since if we don't have any more questions, we will go ahead and dismiss, but I do want to throw out there as well that any one of us that work for the agency are just a phone call or an email or a text away. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us as a resource if you have additional questions that you might have thought of after the fact. Please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We love to see you guys hunting and angling and enjoying the outdoors. There's so much public land out there that New Mexico has to offer. And so we want to see you out there in the field, and we want to build you up as a community to get you guys out there and enjoying all the wonderful natural resources that New Mexico has to offer. So please reach out to us. We're a resource to you at any time, and we would love to talk to you at any time as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.